What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 5. I'm your host, Zach Graham, joined as always by my good buddy, who's on record as my best friend, Ian Michaud. Ian, Labor Day weekend, Sunday evening, smack in the middle of a bunch of other MLS action as we record this. How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty well, ZG. Long time no see. Another frustrating one, but excited to get into it. I think we might have similar thoughts and feelings on it. But other than that, I'm looking forward to having the day off tomorrow as well. Catching some of these results later tonight. And
Yeah, I mean, nothing much else to say, I guess, after 2 losses in 4 days. Not something we've been accustomed to this year, luckily, right? And we always talk about perspective. So, 2 straight losses on the road as well, thinking back to Minnesota and now Nashville. But let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, not just the second loss in 4 days, the second weather delay for Austin FC in 4 days. And so this one not quite as lengthy as the one we experienced at Q2 on Wednesday, but 7:38, I believe, was the scheduled kickoff. 8:29 Central Time ended up being the actual kickoff out there in Nashville with a large contingent of Austin FC fans who, to be honest, they did not show, in my opinion, they did not show nearly enough on the broadcast. I don't even know if I saw them.
I didn't see them.
Which typically, even if, most places put the opposing fans, and rightfully so, up in some corner somewhere up in the top. Yeah. But we've seen them certainly in, of course, the Copa Tejas games. Remember vividly DC, even Portland last year. These games where there's just small sections, we still get to see them on the broadcast, and we didn't last night. So I thought that was a little odd.
It is strange.
Certainly not what we're used to. And the lineup was something we certainly weren't used to either, just because how much Coach Wolf has been just rolling for the last six games with this same 11. Not so. And as expected, right? We were kind of surprised, I think, in the midweek game that we saw no rotation in that 11. I don't know if we really call it heavy rotation here, but the lineup, Stuver in net, of course. John Gallagher got another start, but he was actually on the right this side. Nick Lima took a seat. So the first time we've seen Gallagher start on the right since his first foray into the back line against SKC in the penultimate game last season. Julio and Ruben holding it down in the middle, and Zani Kolmanic getting the start there on the left. Danny Pereira, Sebastian Driussi, Ethan Finley, Diego Fagundes all remain in the starting lineup. Owen Wolf slides in there for Alex Ring, which meant Sebastian Driussi wore the captain's armband, which I do want to pause. I guess we'll finish up here. Danny Hosen up top. Maxi Urruti was out with a hamstring injury. It does appear today, as you and I were speculating yesterday, that was just they're listing him out purely precautionary. It seems today, at least what I've seen, you being Twitterless, maybe have not seen. It appears he's going to be okay and play next weekend, or at least be available next weekend. But we'll see how that plays out. So we'll get.
I was thinking, I was like, shoot, man, he better be ready to roll.
Yeah, or else it's Danny Hosen for at least 60 minutes, and that didn't go great last night. We did see, of course, Tarbo on the bench, Romagno on the bench again, no Kip Keller. All those guys that were rotated with the exception of Urruti out with that injury, available on the bench. We saw Ring there, Lima, and then, with those guys, Felipe, who's been a mainstay in the team, Rigoni again, Hector Jimenez, and, of course, Musa Jite backing up Danny Hosen there. I'll go ahead and tell you my thoughts. And I think I tweeted it out from the podcast account. I was, from a narrative standpoint, really amped up. We talked about the MVP showdown on Thursday's pod. The fact that Driussi was wearing the armband for what I think is the first time, second at most, but I think it was the first time, certainly this season, that we've seen Driussi wear the armband going into the head-to-head battle, so to speak, against Hani Mukhtar. That to me was it just kind of added extra fuel to my adrenaline fire before kickoff.
Okay, last signal. Yeah.
What was your take on the lineup as a whole?
I mean, I remember texting you and saying that I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited to obviously see Danny up front.
Mm-hmm.
It had been a minute since we had seen Young Wolf, Teen Wolf. So I was excited to see him again. I was like, man, he kind of got lost in that entire stretch there. We didn't break any sort of starting lineup.
Yeah.
And now with Rigoni there, that probably limits him even more.
Sure.
So I was intrigued by the lineup. I was super excited to see Mukhtar and Seba go at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mukhtar was all he was built up to be. I thought he was absolutely incredible and impressive. I didn't take the captain's hint as a okay, let's go get it. It has a little more impact for you in terms of, making that individual award.
Mm-hmm.
Seba's, but whatever it was, it didn't help us.
Yeah, I think why I leaned that way, or leaning into narrative street, right, so to speak, is that I kind of thought, if you asked me, obviously Driussi is the headlining act, not just for the team, but now we have to say one of the headlining acts in the league, because I think we'll get into the MVP discussion. Certainly a shakeup there, or at least drawing even, I think, was Mukhtar last night. But if you would have asked me, take Nashville out of it, if this is against any other team and Ring takes the seat, I think I would have said that Ruben Gabrielson would be wearing the armband. I feel like he's taking on a huge leadership role since he arrived early this season, or right before the season, I should say.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I kind of bought into it a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm fine with that.
So, of course, getting into the game with the late start, 8:29 Central. And shout out to Brian. Our boys, Brian and Mike, made the drive out there, made the trek to Nashville, and were giving us updates in real time. Tweeted out the picture that Brian sent us of, the ominous skies over the stadium, which was a really cool picture. And I'll say this, Geodis Park looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
On that.
Yeah.
I think 30,000 seats. And I imagine that the weather had something to do with their attendance not being
a good point.
A sellout.
That definitely happened to us too.
But yeah, it looks like a great stadium. That's one
beautiful.
that I think, you and I haven't been to hardly any road matches, but I think that should be one on our list in the near future. Game kicks off, and what was interesting on the rewatch is that I think with the way the game finished, my experience with the game on the rewatch was much more positive than I felt at the end of the game last night. And I think that is probably the case for a lot of losses. It doesn't matter what team you're watching. It's usually not as bad. Even when I was coaching, right? You felt horrible no matter how you lost, when you lost, who you lost to. And usually the truth isn't as bad as you feel right after the L. But right from the start, Austin, first 5 or 6 minutes, it was all Austin. The possession was dominated by Austin. I think Adrian Healy even said it was the 5th minute, and Nashville got the ball across midfield. And he was like, I think this is the first time Nashville has even been in Austin's half. 2nd minute, Austin wins a free kick, and then we see it from the right side, or I would say center right, on the field facing the net, and Kolmanic takes the attack with his left, and
it was a good shot.
So I guess we could say you and I were actually in a fantasy football draft at the beginning of this match. So the first 30 minutes, we're looking down at the draft. It's that time of the year. NFL starts on Thursday. We're looking down, we're looking up, trying to keep our eyes on the game, and I think that the rewatch for me, especially for that first half hour, really did wonders. But that free kick attempt was not bad. It just sailed a little high.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
And 2 minutes later, Owen Wolf, who I thought, again, you mentioned that he's lost a lot of playing time too. I think Ethan Finley being on top of his game over the last, 5 or 6 games. And obviously Rigoni coming into the team. But Wolf is a central midfielder. And so he was kind of allowed to play more of his natural position last night. And we saw it right from the rip, I thought, in this 4th minute. Nice pass across the box from Wolf to Finley. And then Finley kind of puts it in like near the penalty spot. And there's just nobody home. But it jogged my memory that, man, we were the more threatening team. I think not just in the first 5 or 6 minutes, but like really throughout the first half was kind of the theme that stuck with me on the rewatch. So what were your thoughts there early in the match?
I agree. I thought we came out really well again. And, in a game where scoring is at such a premium, if you go all results based, you're just going to end up having a bad time. Like everything is results based. So I think with the rewatch, we see that we're doing a lot of good things. Our sets look nice. I'll say we're doing a lot of good things offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, I don't want to paint it in such a rosy hue, but I think we have been doing a lot of good things offensively. The pace was great early. We were up. We were moving. The ball was crisp. And then that strike by Zani was a nice one. We get an early corner. And it looks, we're rolling again. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly felt like we had, and I know that in the first half, even last night watching it live, I felt like it was kind of a continuation of the Portland match where we were still on the front foot, and the chances just weren't falling. But
we did not, we definitely didn't have as many chances, but again, we didn't capitalize. Right. And Coach touched on that again in his presser.
Yeah, and another similarity, I think, between maybe not just Portland, but even going back to LAFC last Friday, is that it seems like teams are really starting to adopt very similar tactics against us. And in the last week, I feel like teams have been sitting back, kind of packing it in, trying to handle the potency of our offense, right? With how much of a threat we pose at nearly every position going forward, but then waiting for their chances to counter and attack our weakest link, which I think is our back four, right? And it's certainly there's certainly worse defenses in the league, but I think among any team that you would consider a contender right now, say inside the top 8 in the MLS, like in the race for the Supporter Shield, I think we probably have the worst defense, or the leakiest at this point. And so Nashville kind of countering like crazy in the first half, twice in the first 10 minutes. Jacob Schaffelberg, who's on loan, I believe, from Toronto. I imagine Nashville is going to purchase him. I think there's an option to purchase him with what he's been doing, not just in this match, but the last couple matches. He had 2 goals in his first 100 minutes for this team, and obviously didn't get one last night, but was really threatening. And I thought he gave John Gallagher all he could handle on that last half.
He stuck out to me for sure.
One other theme that I thought kind of moving forward, one other thing that stuck out to me in the first half was not just not being able to finish chances, but not being able to progress the fast break offensively for Austin, and the miscues or the hesitations that we saw a lot of these guys exhibit. 14th minute, Owen Wolf, nice interception in the midfield, steps in, wins the ball. Passes to Driussi right in the middle of the field to start the break. He had Diego on the left. I believe he had Finley on the right, and it's a 3-on-3. Stumbles a bit getting it to Diego out to the left. And kind of just that little stumble, I thought, kind of threw the break off. But still, Diego plays a nice ball into Driussi, left side of the box. And I think you remember this chance. Tell me what you said right when he got – I mean, the pass was nice, set him up. And we've seen him score with his left foot.
I think I just said, let it fly.
Yeah.
They're just shoot that thing, something. It was something exclamatory along the lines of, hey, man, you definitely got to shoot that. Yeah. And I think if he could have that one back, he would want it back. Yeah. And he would let that go. I mean, we've seen him score goals from crazier angles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was Adrian Healy. It might have been him or Lahoud on the broadcast that that said they thought he was taking that touch. So he comes down the left side, could have shot it with his left. I think he's got 2 goals with his left foot this year. Takes a touch, gets it poked away. They kind of mentioned they thought he wanted to get it on that right foot where he scored obviously the majority of his goals this season. And to your point, we've seen him score tougher goals. I think he was like,
it just seemed like his shoulder. He had his right shoulder was past him. Like he had just beaten him. He had the angle there, I thought initially, and obviously we're watching on TV, so I don't know how it looked from that side of the goal. But I was surprised. I was honestly surprised he didn't shoot.
Yeah, I agree. I think we both may have yelled "shoot," when the ball came to him. But I think if you think back just a week ago, the goal he scored against LAFC was very similar, right? Pass from Diego, got the defender on his shoulder, on his hip, and makes that turn on Murillo and sends him to his grave. Maybe a similar idea there. But it sure looked like the in rhythm shot would have been the better decision. It's easy to say that from our couch.
Absolutely.
17th minute. Now we're going the other way. Mukhtar running the break in our half. Finds Schaffelberg again on the left. And Schaffelberg gets through, gets slid by Gallagher in the box. And the ref doesn't call a foul, and it ends up the linesman's got his flag up. Schaffelberg's shoulder was offside, but I didn't think I got a great look at the slide tackle by Gallagher, but
I did not.
It was risky, I think, regardless of if he got it clean or not.
Had to have been just pitch then.
Yeah, just got beat. So saved by offsides, I think.
Yeah.
Right there. Skipping ahead about 10 minutes. Danny Pereira in this game, I thought needed to do more of this. And we haven't seen it all too often. But when he does, I think it gets everybody excited, whether you're a member of the team or somebody in the stands or watching on TV. Breaks a line in our own half and streaks up the field, just shot out of a cannon. And this is like a 50 to 60 yard run. And ends up getting to the edge of the 18, taking a left-footed shot, a little bit off balance, and it goes wide left. But I just think, like, Danny, you hear me in the stands, right, all the time when he's got that space, and he's looking to distribute, and I know that's probably what the coaches have told him to do and what he wants to do, but I just feel like there's always good things that happen when Danny Pereira makes a run like that and takes the space that a team is giving him. What did you – I mean, I think both of us certainly perked up when he made that run. How do you feel about Danny, kind of without Alex Ring in the team, at least for the first half here?
I thought he played well. That was a fantastic take he had there. And I think, again, kind of results oriented. Sometimes those are turnovers on his end.
Sure.
And they're going the other way. I want to touch back on it. The attempt where Johnny G slides in the box.
Yes.
That is not the ball from Mukhtar with his left foot, where his hips are literally facing the opposite end of the field. Yeah. And he turns one motion left-footed, plays a perfect strike. I think it happened before.
Okay.
The John.
I don't think it was that one because he was already running the break on that.
Yes. It wasn't that one because also that one got to run through and there was Stuver had a nice save.
But I remember, I do remember like when he made that. I don't remember when it was, but when he made that pass, we were like, "Oh God!"
Yeah, I was just like, it was perfect. And
it's almost like when we were watching Reynoso 2 weeks ago, and there was like 3 times where we were just like, "Oh, good pass," or like good pass, good move, good shot, whatever.
Absolutely.
It's. I know it sucks when it doesn't. We both know it sucks when it doesn't. We don't come through with at least a result, right? At least get a point. But watching like the rest of the All-Stars, right, come through the schedule here, especially down the second half, has been really fun, just from a soccer perspective. I believe the next play after that Pereira run, Nashville kind of matriculates up the field. Ball comes in from the left side on the ground, and Mukhtar gets on it like right on the edge of the 6. And we double team him, and as he's like falling backwards down to the ground, somehow gets a pass off to I believe Muyl. It's Alex Muyl. And I know Adrian Healy's on top of his pronunciations, but it's not necessarily translating from me listening to him to speaking here on the podcast. But Muyl, number 19, right? We could call him that.
19.
He misses just wide, and I thought he should have scored that. It was a hell of an effort by Mukhtar to get his boot on that and get it out of the double team. So a really nervy moment right there. And then I know you were pretty upset about this one, especially after the replay. 34th minute, John Gallagher from the right providing service. Julio goes up back post, and Julio gets called for a foul. Muyol there again, and it looked like on the replay friendly fire from his keeper Joe Willis, and Julio did nothing. And so I think that was just kind of a tough break. What like those type of, I know the ref gives the benefit of the doubt a lot of the times, but like that one. That was rough.
It was. And I mean, did it go to Atlanta? You know, I don't know if we got to talk to Brian about it again, but
right. I don't know if that's a reviewable play.
What's that?
Is that a reviewable? Like, I don't know if that's a reviewable thing.
That's a good question. I also do not know if that's a reviewable thing.
Yeah.
But Julio usually finds himself in those kind of scrums or dust ups, altercations. But yeah, clearly friendly fire there. And just another thing, just a missed opportunity, really.
Yeah.
You know, and that one's out of our hands, but just another chance where it's like when goals are at a premium, especially getting that first goal for us, it would have been nice after Portland and having a little bit of momentum, like pushing forward, it would have just carried on, I thought. So yeah, just another missed opportunity, and Julio, not a great night.
Yeah, not a great night for Julio, and we can talk about that more in the second half, and maybe continue our discussion on rotating in some of those bench center backs as we go down the stretch here. But 4 minutes later, and I think like the official now really enters the conversation. I saw a lot of people on both both sides of the fan bases, right? Like you go onto the Reddit thread, Nashville fans just screaming about the ref, and I saw a lot of that on Austin FC, kind of in the Twitter sphere, right? And I think Brian may texted me during the game saying this ref is not calling a fair game, I think is what he said. And I'll say, like, I didn't come away from watching it live or the replay thinking that Austin got the short end of the stick. I do think the ref did not have a great game, but I don't think it was the cause of Austin's loss.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. But it wasn't just the head official here. 38th minute, Diego out to the right corner and gets positioned on Lovitz out there and goes down right in front of the linesman. And the linesman waves his flag like he's going to call a foul, and he calls it off. He calls a flop on Diego. And I thought that was
heinous.
Extremely harsh for how much, not just in this game, but just like the MLS and soccer in general, like that is a foul. You got to give that. He won position on Lovitz, and there was some contact. And like, if we're going to call that an offensive foul, embellishment, right? Like, you got to call that. That needs to be called a lot more often in this league if that is deemed correct.
Then we see it again with Moose later, and it goes completely different.
Yeah, exactly. But then Diego, to make matters worse, he runs to the head official and gets a card for dissent.
We were frustrated. You could tell.
Yeah.
And then
the whole team.
Yes, we are definitely frustrated. A frustrated bunch right now, and it boils over with Moose at the end.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be getting caught up with the refs, but I mean, shit, man, you got to do your job.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, I don't know, like you got to do your job. It's bad. And I think they also definitely blew some calls for Nashville too, so rightfully so. Wolf brings up the ref again in the post game, and like you said, not why we lost, but a poor display again. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen a few poor displays. It is what it is.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that I think, and if somebody out there listening knows better, please correct me somewhere. I believe there is a number of PRO referees. PRO is like the officials organization that the MLS uses. I think there's a number of them that are going to the World Cup. And I don't know if I've seen any PRO referee that I think is that caliber. I don't know. Certainly not our boy from last night. But so right after that, like getting into last 5 minutes or so of the half here, 40th minute, Danny Hosen, I thought, really showed up and was dangerous for this kind of 2-3 minutes. Got a nice ball from Wolf on the right side, gets into the box, double team, tried to kind of touch it on to Driussi.
Yeah.
And got poked away.
Figure out what happened there.
I thought he just kind of lost it in his feet. There was a lot of traffic there.
Yeah.
With Willis coming to meet him and 2 defenders on him. And it looked like Driussi was also pretty well marked on the left side. But Austin keeps possession after it was cleared. And then Driussi finds Hosen again, who turns and rips a shot, which we loved. Because I think him, like, anywhere near the edge of the 18 for Hosen, I think he's in range to have one. I want to see him do that more.
I agree.
Don't go crazy, but like I thought this shot was. I've been waiting for him to take a chance like that, and it just wasn't on target.
Kept it low, just a little wide.
Mm-hmm. We get the ball back after the goal kick, and the fast break turns into another misplay here. A 4-on-4 situation, and Diego just with a poor pass to Owen Wolf. And I think Mike LaHood said it on the broadcast. He thought Wolf was kind of making a decoy run to pull Shaq Moore further away from the play.
Was it Diego or Seba with the pass?
Well, so Seba was making the run on the other side. And I think that's what LaHood was saying is Wolf was making a dummy run so there could be more room for Driussi. And he thought the pass should have gone to Driussi. But Diego goes to Wolf. A little bit of a slow roller. Wolf slides to try to win the ball back, doesn't get it, and so just another fast break squandered. And I think one of the biggest things that I thought the officials did that was to the detriment of Nashville was 3rd minute of stoppage time in the first half. Nashville's threatening, I think, on a free kick. Ball is not really cleared, but touched on by Austin a little bit outside the 18, and Nashville's clearly going to get on it. And the official blows his whistle. If that was reversed and it was for us, I would have been furious. And so I thought it was a really bad call. Like, who blows the whistle in the air like that?
Yeah,
it's like you see that on FIFA sometimes, but like
that can't be our baseline.
But that was just like when there's something so clearly wrong like that fans of both teams are like, huh?
Yeah.
Like you're not having a good night. So just, adding fuel to the officials suck fire there. First 10 minutes of the second half.
Everyone hate us.
Yeah. First 10 minutes of the second half, man, where we kind of lost the game.
I agree. They came out, they were reinvigorated. They had a new game plan almost, and they punched us in the mouth, and we did not respond in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, just immediately threatening multiple times right out of the half.
Yes.
And it doesn't take long. 48th minute, they win a corner. First one comes in, Gallagher clears it off, but for another corner, and it is that second corner that's whipped in, finds the head of Walker Zimmerman, who we would love to do well this winter, of course, but when he's playing against our boys, I'm not a fan. But just a monster header, met it at the apex of his jump, and high velocity down into the ground, textbook. That's a good goal. I just tip my hat to him.
That was a great set. It was a great piece by them. Julio, he got beat again.
Yeah,
he got beat. He got beat again, and it wasn't even like he didn't even get hit with a move.
Yeah,
he just kind of viewed the spot, and then Zani's there, and he's flat.
Yeah,
on the ball.
Well, he's not gonna win that. Colmanish isn't gonna win that ball anyways, right?
I mean, again, results based. He was still flat. It's a point of emphasis we brought up in the last 2 pods, I believe, where we've said we've looked, especially on those like second tier, like second play, second phase kind of the game. We've looked slow to the ball, slow to react.
Yeah, no question. And speaking of Julio, Julio commits a foul. I think it was on CJ Sapong. I may be wrong, but right in the midfield, kind of to stop a break.
Yeah,
picks up a yellow.
Just kicks him in the butt.
Yeah, you're right. I think we were laughing about that.
Something bit me in the ass. What's that, Forrest Gump?
And that stoppage also brings on Alex Ring for Wolf, who noted by the broadcast ran straight to Driussi and grabbed that captain's armband. And then also Nick Lima comes in for Zan Colmanis. So Lima to the right, Johnny G back to his spot on the left. And I thought the next couple minutes were fairly shaky. Alex Ring had 2 giveaways, a poor pass, and then
He
touch.
did not look ready to play.
Yeah, I thought Nick Lima looked flat-footed the first 5 to 10 minutes. But then 3 minutes after those guys come in, we kind of see the first sign of life for the Verde in the second half. Gallagher whips it into the box from the left, and it skims off of Ring's head, who had position right in front of the net. Skims off his head. Ring goes down, and not a foul.
No.
But it falls to Ethan Finley, who needs a touch to kind of gather himself, and it allowed the defense to kind of close that space down. And it ended up going out corner, but I thought Ethan Finley could have done a better job to get that off quicker. I thought it was one of the slowest windups I've seen this season.
He took his time.
Out of all the good things he's done this year, I can't complain, but I thought he could have done better on that chance.
Yeah, we could have done better on a lot of chances. And that kind of sums it up for us these last 2 games here.
We like I said, we got a corner off that, so it wasn't terrible, right? We keep possession, and then we have a really dangerous set piece here where Diego ends up. I don't believe Diego took the corner, but it went short. Played it back and forth once or twice there on the right side. Ends up being Diego crossing it in from the right, and he finds Ruben's head, and Ruben very similar. Strength on this headed ball to Zimmerman's goal, but it goes right to Joe Willis.
Right to him.
And again, that's kind of, going back to the Portland match. That's just how it's been in the last 180 minutes for us.
Yeah. I think that's just something we're going to have to get more and more accustomed to.
Yeah.
As we grow our fanhood here throughout these years. Anywhere else, it's a goal, and these chances, though, that we're talking about on the rewatch made me feel better about the game. Because, again, like we said against Portland, a lot of these chances, especially the ones that we're putting on target, have gone in more than they haven't this season. And he was visibly frustrated, too. After that, you see him. He's dejected. He does something pissed. He seems pretty pissed. So, we're a frustrated group right now.
Yeah. 65th minute, GT on for Danny Hosen, and then our boy Emiliano Rigoni in for Ethan Finley. And it didn't take long for Rigoni to
the ball's gonna find it.
Yeah, no goals, no assists, obviously, with Austin getting shut out for just the 3rd time this season. But I thought he was dangerous and creative, and he's still finding his footing. He's played 65 minutes total for the team, and I think he's been just as good as Finley has been this year in terms of how threatening he is. Maybe not as locked into the defensive mechanisms of this club, but that'll come with time. And like we said on the last pod, at this point of the season, it's really it's going to come from him being out there on the field. Although a full week of training here this week will certainly help.
Yeah, coach brought up his fitness.
Did he?
Yes, in the post game, he brought up his fitness, and he's keeping a tempered perspective here. He's obviously we can see the talent that this guy's bringing to the team, but again, he brought up his fitness, and maybe he's just not there yet.
Yeah, well, and I think a week here in between matches will really help, and I'll probably, when we get to the Seattle section, I'll probably predict another Rigoni start, but we'll have to see. I think I have been not dissatisfied with his performances so far, certainly compared to some of the takes I've seen about him.
No, Nashville. I was watching the Nashville broadcast for some highlights, and they gave him a little jab.
Oh, really?
He misses that one free kick attempt.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of, there's the $4 million man, sailing that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Nashville. That's not the only thing that I think is going to juice up not just the players, but the fan base, or some of the fans, certainly in the North End, when they come to Q2 here in 2 weeks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. 71st minute, Rigoni, nice right to left cross, jukes the shit out of his defender there on the right side. Crosses it in, beautiful cross. Julio leveraging himself on a defender gets called for the foul, but that kind of shiftiness again is what we're going to see from him, and that ability to break somebody down one-on-one, we just don't see a lot on our team.
Yeah, and then to be able to deliver balls with either foot, it's just, oh my gosh.
You know, you brought up the free kick, right? Yeah. That's 3 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Diego, who obviously 2 free kick goals in the last 7 weeks. And then Rigoni standing on the other side with the ambidextrous nature of his talent.
Yeah.
I think to have those 2 guys and Sebastian Driussi's not even lined up over that ball, like we have a lot of options now to really threaten off those free kicks. And again, the official, why is he stopping that on the first attempt? Like it hit the wall, so it's not like he scored and the ref called back a goal.
Yeah.
But certainly took away the element of surprise that Rigoni is going to take that free kick.
Yeah, I was actually interested to see if we changed it up after that.
Well, and again, it's like, fuck, man. He missed a couple feet maybe over the bar. Mm-hmm. Fucking Hani Mukhtar missed over the bar on one of his free kicks too. So how much did he get paid, Nashville announcers? Like, can guys not miss a free kick?
I don't know. I guess not.
Lima picks up a yellow card in the 75th. Felipe on for Diego Fagundes in the 78th. And then in the 80th minute, just I don't understand how anybody in the stadium could have thought this was a goal. Burnberry, who I think was one of the subs that came on for Nashville, just slams Stuver and the ball into the net.
Both of them into the net.
Bodies him. And I guess, first of all, this chance came off of a just amazing Hani Mukhtar run down the left. That's first touch and then his speed to get past the entirety of the Austin defense. We saw a lot of, whether it was Schaffelberg or Mukhtar, we saw a lot of Nick Lima, John Gallagher having to put their heads down and catch up to the play. And so I think that's, it's not just Nashville that's going to threaten our back line like that. So, continuing to rotate these guys, hopefully we can see more Jimenez. I thought Zan Kolmanic was fine last night. I didn't think he was detrimental to the team. So if we can get him back in the rotation and keep the legs fresh on the back line, I think that's going to go a long way to hopefully securing this 2 seed, which is not a certainty. Still an overwhelming probability, but
I mean, we've had 2 chances to clinch playoffs now, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah,
but it's getting a little interesting.
Yeah. Well, and so and I think it was right around this time, 80th minute or so, that I said to you, we are insanely lucky to be only down 1-0. And it was like Ruben Gabrielson heard me and was like, "Oh, you want to be down 2-0?" Ruben, I can't give Ruben much shit. Obviously, he's been our best defender, I think, throughout the season. But just a miscue by him brings it down, kind of stumbles over himself, loses the ball, and Hani Mukhtar slots it home 2-0.
Nothing you can do about it on Stuver's end. Ball's low, far post, great rip. I don't know what happened with Ruben there. It looked like he got caught trying to make up his mind and tried to balk it, and then just lost control. Tough.
Is that the first type of miscue like that we've seen Ruben make? Because obviously we've seen Stuver make it. We've seen Julio make plenty. I think Romagna, at least last season, all those guys. I can't, off the top of my head, think of one where Ruben just gave one up like that.
I can't recall one either.
Well, so, and this is one thing I wanted to talk about in terms of the entire Austin FC universe being ready for Nashville to come to town in 2 weeks. Mukhtar scores, equalizes Driussi in the Golden Boot race at 20, and takes his jersey off and holds it up to the crowd exactly like Driussi did last Friday. And I know that's not like his celebration. I think that's I think most people would think of Lionel Messi with that.
Mhm.
But you then got a glimpse of the look on Driussi's face after that goal. And I think some people thought it was he's pissed that Mukhtar equalized. I thought, I also saw he's pissed that he's had to carry the team and he doesn't have enough help. I thought it was based on the celebration because I thought that was a direct shot at Driussi because he just did that celebration on the goal that allowed him to take the lead in the not the supporter shield, the Golden Boot race.
You are trying to make this so personal.
Yeah, hey man,
you are taking all of these things personally.
Look,
I don't know.
I'm just reading his body language. That did not look like I'm pissed at my teammates. That looked like, yo, fuck you. I'm gonna go get mine. And he almost did. 85th minute, Rigoni gets a free kick on the left, swings it in, finds Driussi's head, and was saved by Willis and goes out for a corner.
Correct.
Which, of course, was not converted after that. But, yeah, it was literally the first play after that. Driussi almost scores. 91st minute, breakaway, Shaq Moore, Hani Mukhtar. And here's where
I want to talk about this.
Yeah, I want you to take it away because I know you had some words last night when it happened. So let me know your thoughts on what led to that third goal.
I mean, Ruben clearly tells Julio to stay on Mukhtar.
Yeah.
He is clearly pointing, and I don't know if Julio can't see him. I'd imagine he was saying something. But
Ruben or Julio?
Ruben.
Yeah, no, you could see him yelling at him.
As he's tracking back, and it's like, okay, he is about to beat, while Shaq is ahead of him, he is going to beat him to the spot where he becomes most dangerous in a time that I felt would have been appropriate where we could have responded and defended. Instead, Julio lightly like he's caught in between for a half second, and then he just kind of half-heartedly goes, and then the ball just goes through his legs again.
Yeah.
And he just gets 5-hole again or whatever, 4-hole. And Ruben's pissed.
Yeah.
You can see after the goal, he's pissed again.
Yeah.
And that was really, and Julio, he fell down as the ball went through his legs. I don't know what he's on the ground after. And I've been a giant Julio supporter the whole time, but I just don't understand how I don't even think that he would have needed Ruben to tell him to go get Mukhtar there when you see him in a dead sprint coming back. Now, both of them were gassed, and the attempt by Julio to get back, I have to applaud him at least there on that.
Yeah, he was sprinting his ass.
Yeah, he ran his ass off, and it was the end of the game, and he played, 90 the game before. So it was just an incredible miscommunication or just didn't see. And at that point, I mean, we were so pressed up.
Yeah.
Just bound to happen, especially the way that they came out in the second half and really made it a point of emphasis to get balls into space, get their guys running onto it. I was frustrated. And then to see those two have that interaction and know how frustrated Ruben was. Like I said, we are definitely a frustrated bunch right now.
Yeah. Well, and that frustration kind of bubbles over in the 94th minute.
Then it becomes, I mean, it's not even frustration. Then it's just ugly. You can't be doing that. Like, you can't do that shit. Especially you, man.
Yeah, especially Musa.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And he really lost his shit there.
He did.
Because I don't know who the other defender is that comes up to like kind of calm him down. But he gives him a full, like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
And then, like, grabbed him by the back of the head. They almost, like, kissed.
Kissed him, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's trying to headbutt all kinds of people.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was Musa had the ball, right, just outside the 18 on the left side, kind of near the end line, and makes a move around, I think it was Zimmerman, but a Nashville defender. And, like, in basketball, right, you would have called for a hook, I think, right there, like an offensive foul, but kind of hits him in the face. It seemed like the defender really sold it.
It was sold.
I was also not mad about the foul being called.
I wasn't like, holy shit, you can't possibly call that.
Right. But so, and then, like you said, Musa, first he rushes the official and nearly headbutts him. I think he did make contact.
Well, the first thing he does is he spikes the ball.
True. Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
Spikes the ball on the ground with two hands over both of their heads. So, I mean, I don't know. In basketball, you spike the ball over head height. That's a tee. You got to catch it.
Even then, it depends on the official.
Depends. I've gotten my fair share for catching.
Yeah, but then I think makes contact with the official, and then like you said, another defender came in there, and he completely goes like, I thought he was, again, looked like he might have kissed him or headbutted him or pushed him. And then and I saw somebody, I can't take credit for this. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said when fucking Felipe is the one trying to calm you down, you're too hot. And so obviously, I think a pretty easy red card decision there.
He had
the official.
Had to be.
And so again, really great to hear that Maxey is most likely going to be available next weekend, because it's hosing outside of those two.
Yeah, that would have been a situation for us.
And so, again, that Mukhtar second goal, he's in the lead for the Golden Boot race. We know that these types of things, especially in the sports media, it's a what have you done for me lately? And the fact that Mukhtar, brace, Nashville, clean sheet against Austin, not happened hardly at all this year. He's got all the momentum again, and the hat trick on Wednesday.
Huge.
So I think Mukhtar, in my opinion, is firmly in the lead if we had to vote today. But there's 5 matches left and another head-to-head matchup. So I don't think the MVP is lost. I don't think the Golden Boot is lost. But I also don't think that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. What this team needs is the second seed out west. And
absolutely.
That gap is still sizable. I think 5 or 6 points, and I think maybe points. Dallas is 5 points back, but we have at least a game in hand on them. So it's not dire right now, but it's shrinking. That cushion that we have,
it has been shrinking ever so slowly.
And so the next opportunity to clinch, again, a win does it, is at Seattle this coming Saturday. Last season, saw them twice. Obviously, last season we saw a lot of teams out west 3 times, only 2 times against the Sounders. A 0-0 draw early in the season last year up there, which was still kind of at the point of the season where we're competing a little bit.
We were like, who are we?
Yeah, like we had some really bad games. We had won multiple games on the road at that point, of course.
That's right.
Those being the only 2 all year. And then, I mean, I think everybody remembers the loss to Raul Ruidaz and his teenager teammates at home, where, Seattle heavily rotated a bunch of their academy kids playing.
Yeah.
Austin can't break through, and then Ruidaz comes in the second half and top 3 goal, I think, Austin or any opponents. I think top 3 goal we've seen at Q2 so far, like a 40-yard volley over Stuber.
That shit was crazy.
Coming right to us in the north end. That was that was one of the games, I think. That was one of the first games where you and I left just screaming mad. Walking down the street, fuck! It was certainly not the last season.
And it won't be the last
but last
ever.
It's certainly a memorable game. This season, back on March 20th, another early season matchup against the Sounders, 1-1 draw. We had the Will Bruin goal going towards the south end. I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of debate on whether he was offsides or not. There was no camera angle that showed it clearly. And just kind of like, he got almost a lucky bounce. It was like him, Julio, and Stuver all kind of met at the net, and the ball just squirted in. And then it took until late in the second half for Fagundes to get the equalizer. And that was also a crazy goal where the ball was kind of bouncing around in the 6-yard box or right outside, and Diego kind of half volleys it, I think, contorts his body around and slots it into the left side of the net. So that was that game. There was a lot of energy in the stadium. Afternoon game back then, when it wasn't 1,000,000 degrees outside. And Seattle since then, first of all, I think all of us were cheering them on in their run in the CONCACAF Champions League, where they ended up taking it down, the first MLS team to win CONCACAF Champions League.
Hell yeah.
I believe it was that final match where João Paulo tore his ACL. His absence has really hurt this Seattle team.
Tough place to play, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I
Tough
think
place to
Lumen
play.
Field is what it's called now. But I mean, Seattle now 10 wins, 3 draws, 15 losses, 33 points out of their 28 matches. I believe they are in action later this evening here on Sunday, September 4th. But their form as of late, terrible. Their last 5 games, 4 losses and a draw. You look at their stats, not impressive. Nobody standing out. Again, they've had Rui Daz has been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Nico Lodero was out, I think, to start the year. Obviously, João Paulo. I think Obed Vargas was hurt for a while. They're like 16-year-old kind of phenom academy player. I guess you can't really call him an academy player anymore. He was in those Champions League games playing with the big boys. But Jordan Morris and Raul Ruidaz both on 7 goals as the top scorers for Seattle. Nico Lodero on 6 assists. Lodero also 5 goals, leading the Sounders in contributions with 11. So obviously a team in disarray. We'll see how they do tonight. Maybe they start, they right the ship in the correct direction, but hopefully Austin can go out there and right our own ship, right? Get at least a point, but a win obviously will clinch the first playoff spot in club history. I guess before we get into lineups, predictions, looking back on the last week, we were talking to Brian and Mike this time last weekend. You said, how would we feel about 4 points from LAFC and Portland matches? We all said that would be great. I guess looking back, what would you have said if I told you from those 3 matches, LAFC, Portland, and Nashville, that we only got 3 points? Because I know I would have said, well, that's a letdown.
Yeah. I mean, I moved the goalposts after we lost to Portland just to see if we could get something going in the right direction. Especially when you put it in the context of the first win and beating LAFC, and having that 3 points, right away to go get at least one more point in these next 2 or the 2 that just kicked off here. I'm definitely disappointed. Yeah. Definitely disappointed. I think we have definitely made the case that we played well most of the time. We missed opportunities. We had plenty of chances. Portland was fighting for their playoff life. This team, hot. Mukhtar, hot. Yeah. So
14-1 goals, I think, over their last 4 matches, all wins.
Wow. I am not very pleased to walk away with 3 points. 3 points in those 3 games. I don't think anyone is. I think you can tell by how frustrated our team is right now that nobody's really happy with how things are going. But again, we set ourselves up nicely.
Absolutely.
And
banked points in the beginning and middle of the season.
We did that. And like you said about the MVP race, especially in this day and age, it's very much a what have you done for me lately? But we set ourselves up very nice. We had a great cushion. Still 5 points up on Frisco here. Got to right the ship.
Yeah.
Have to. I'm not going to predict an Austin FC loss when we do predictions. So,
before we get to that, let's assume that we have Maxi Ruti available next week. And I think let's assume, maybe against our better judgment at this point, that we have Washington Caruso available, because he was not in the team against Portland on Wednesday, not in the team last night, but was on the trip. He was on the trip last night. So that to me was interesting, and not showing up on the injury report. So I don't know what's happening there, but let's assume that we've got everybody available, obviously with the exception of Musa Jite, who will be out with that red card suspension. Changes in the team. Do you think we go back to that 11 that we had seen so much, or do you think we're going to kind of continue to mix it up?
That's a good question. I would definitely not be shocked to see Wolf go back to that 11.
Yeah.
Especially since we're kind of treading water a little bit right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why he's been trying to build that continuity, for these long stretches, these tough games. I know he's mentioned a few times, how he's been around the block in the league a little bit, and how these games at the end, are really knock them down, drag them out kind of games where you got to get points. I think you see the 11, but we get Rigoni.
Okay, for Finley.
For Finley.
Okay, that's exactly where I was going.
I think at least maybe that's just, I'm saying I think that's what we see because that's what I want to see.
Sure.
But yes, let me be wrong about something else again. There's my prediction.
Yeah, I think we see that same 11 with the substitution of Rigoni for Finley. Okay. And again, I think you said it. You read my mind there. I think I'm saying that because it's what I want to see, not necessarily what I think is most likely to happen. And again, I would just at some point, we have this full week of training, and we're out to Seattle, and then we're home another double game week, RSL the next Wednesday, Nashville again on that Saturday. So we're going to see some rotation again once we get into that stretch of games. And, like I've said before, I would like to see, obviously I want Kip Keller, but even if it's Johan Romagna, it's not just to get, at this point, it's not just anymore for me to get those backups minutes and get them ready for any sort of situation that will be thrown at us in the playoffs, injuries, cards, what have you.
Yep.
It's to get some rest for the legs of Julio and Ruben.
Julio needs a break. Ruben, we might just have to run him into the ground. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Oh damn! Yeah. I didn't know he was 30.
Yeah, he's a veteran. Also, another thing I didn't know last night that we heard on the broadcast that Hani Mukhtar had been in the league for a decade.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have the experience with MLS really past the last 18 months or so. I paid attention to a couple games the COVID year because I knew we were coming into the league. But, yeah, man, I had no idea that he was such a mainstay. Anyways, getting off topic here, we'll fucking talk about Hani Mukhtar in a couple weeks. Hopefully still stuck on 21 goals. Just, for the trophies for our boy, Seba. Prediction time. I know today's not the day you're going to predict an Austin loss. So how much are they winning by? What's the score?
I think we win 2-0.
2-0. Shutting out Seattle at home.
I mean, they don't have a single guy with over more than 8 goals in the season.
Nobody over 7. I a bit fool's gold with Rui Daz because he's been in and out of the lineup with injuries so much. We know how good
thing at this point. I mean, can they? So
they can make the playoffs.
Yeah, they can.
Okay. I'm gonna go a 3-2 Austin win. I think this game plays pretty open. That's Austin style, right? At this point, try to outscore everybody, and again, Seattle in that poor run of form. But in those 5 games, right, with the 4 losses and 1 draw, they have scored at least 1 goal in all 5 games and given up at least 2 in all 5 games. So we'll see what happens with them tonight. But I'm going to say 3-2 Austin, getting back to their highest scoring ways tonight. Seattle taking on Houston, who obviously coming off that upset win over LAFC. So yeah, I guess we'll we'll see. We've got 6 days until that match, so we'll try to take a load off tomorrow on Labor Day and then start counting down the days till we get to see our boys play again. Before we get out of here, as we always do, just want to touch on a couple. I guess not a couple things. I just want to look at this one game from last night, Philadelphia Union and the New York Red Bulls. On the Philadelphia side, nothing has changed. 2-0 win, continuing
hell out of people,
continuing their domination, not just through the Eastern Conference, but the league as a whole. First team to 60 points, averaging 2 points a game, and maybe even more impressive, the plus 42 goal differential. Seems like a long time ago, even though it was just 5 matches ago that they lost 1-0 at Dallas, continuing to tear through the league since that point. But I guess more of our discussion from this game is going to come on the other side, the losing side, and Drew Yearwood, who was hurt Austin in that match at Q2 back in July. But Drew Yearwood hurting his own fans last night. Look, I think anybody who's been an athlete at, I would say, the middle school, high school level or above, has probably done something in the heat of a game, especially a loss, that you would want back, whether it was, I don't know, flipping off the fans, a dirty foul, or in Drew Yearwood's case, slamming, like just blasting the ball into the stands. It looked like maybe he was trying to hit it off the boards to me, but Yearwood on the sideline,
I think
kicks the ball into the stands. It hits not one, but 2 New York Red Bulls fans. It looked like a young woman and then a kid who was sitting in front of her. Yearwood then goes into the stands to try to apologize, which I would say, good on him. Like, he did the right thing after the fact. I think.
Is that the right thing to do?
To go apologize?
I mean, not to go.
Are you going to stand on the field and walk away?
I mean, you can wave. You can say, "My bad." I don't think climbing into the stands was a good idea.
Interesting. Well, so the league certainly thinks it's a bad idea.
I mean, the guy right away is like, "No, get out of here."
Yeah.
What if he was, a little more amped up?
He got run our test style.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go run our test. But, I mean, I don't think it was a good idea to go into the stands. As sorry as he probably was. I mean,
sure. I think anybody who does
wasn't
that,
trying to do it, but the shit.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It was so bad.
But yeah, I guess we'll disagree there. I thought he wanted to. I think I would have done that, trying to just show my remorse. Like, I fucked up. What else am I supposed to do in this moment to show that I know that I am sorry? Like, and he came out with a statement after apologizing, etc. And I would expect him, maybe that not to be the end of the story with him trying to reach out to those people.
Is he gonna get suspended?
Absolutely. Well, he got sent off, so he's at least 1 game, but I think 3.
Yeah, you can't be hitting fans in the head with balls like that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, and I think what we both noticed on the broadcast is the entire, maybe not the entire, but the New York Red Bulls fans, home fans, chanting "asshole, asshole, asshole."
Yeah, shout out New York. We don't really play that shit.
I think just ultimately, really unfortunate. Obviously, he was not trying to do that, but a serious mistake nonetheless, and I think he's going to pay the price with a suspension and probably a hefty fine by MLS standards.
As you should.
Yeah. So I would encourage anybody. I mean, maybe you don't need to see that, but it was a sight to behold in a soccer match, at least for my, naive soccer eyes. It's not something I had seen, I don't think, before. Maybe once. I don't know.
I have not seen anybody kick a ball like that and just blast them. I mean, she was in the 8th row.
I know. I mean, I think bloody nose, it looked like.
Yeah.
And then obviously the child in front of her could look like, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd grader maybe sitting there, but certainly not expecting to get hit even secondhand by a ball like that. Especially when you're sitting on the sideline. If you're in the end and, you got to have a head on a swivel because a shot may be coming your way. But, yeah, just a tough look there. And I thought something worth bringing up as unfortunate as it was.
I agree. We got to get some kind of non-Austin stuff in here, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of non-Austin stuff, before we get out of here, just a live look. Obviously, anybody listening to this will know the results of these matches by the time they listen here. But quickly around the league, Portland 2-1 over Atlanta United today. 56-minute DC and Colorado scoreless. Toronto and Montreal, barn burner, 3-2 Montreal in the 50th minute. Currently there, I believe that is in Toronto. New England, the Revolution, 2-0 over NYCFC. That game almost at the half in the 42nd minute. Galaxy, 1-0 over SKC, also in the 42nd minute. And then still to come tonight, Seattle and Houston, San Jose and Vancouver, and then LAFC and Real Salt Lake out there at the bank in Los Angeles. So we do see a couple teams play midweek. NYCFC back on the pitch Wednesday, taking on FC Cincinnati. Big match there for with playoff implications in the East. One Friday match leading into next week's games, Montreal and the Columbus Crew. That's Friday, 6:30 Central. So MLS action,
exciting,
not stopping. Yeah, it's coming fast and furious until we hit that international break at the end of September. It's insane that we're this close to the end of the regular season. NFL starts in 4 days. NBA preseason starts at the end of this month. Obviously, you and I will use this podcast to talk some about those sports post MLS playoffs, because that's where those are our sports that we grew up playing and watching and all that stuff. Maybe gambling on a little bit. So yeah, I think that anything else from you, or are we ready to get out of here?
I'm gonna miss the next 2 home games.
Yeah, so you're breaking the streak. We had both this season been to every match, so I guess I have to carry the torch the rest of the way here. Only 3 left, and you're going back to the motherland up there in New York, right?
That's true.
Your buddies. I guess I could say our buddy Pete, right?
Our good buddy.
Our good buddy. Your good buddy. My buddy.
The best friend. I'm of the camp that you can have more than one best friend.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So I've received some, people have reached out to me about it. They're like, yo, you think Zach's your best friend?
Hey, you're the one who went on record.
I man, because I'm polygamous for friends.
For friends. All right, everybody.
Yeah, I won't be there. I got a bachelor party.
Yeah, well, we will certainly be on the podcast, though.
Indeed.
Maybe an abbreviated version, maybe an abbreviated visit from you as you're, going through all the festivities out there that we can, but we'll deal with that when we come to it. If you're still with us after this hour plus, as always, we really appreciate you. We know you have a lot of choices in your Austin FC content and how and what to consume in between matches. And so if you got 5 seconds, you can rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. You can subscribe to the North End Podcast YouTube channel. The podcast simulcast there. Audio only for now, but I think we're going to do some live streaming content, whether it's a pod, watching an away match, whatever, sometime in the future. You can subscribe there at the North End Pod. Hit that thumbs up button if you're listening to this. It helps. The YouTube algorithm loves that thumbs up. And you can follow us on Twitter at the North End Pod. I'm at Kawaisenberg DFS, and Ian is nowhere yet. He did say to me, folks, yesterday, I guess I might have to get on Twitter. I'm not sure if he's going to backtrack on that yet, but if he does make his way onto Twitter, you all will certainly know about it. So again, we appreciate you all tuning in. This has been the North End Podcast. Enjoy your Labor Day, enjoy your week, and go Austin FC. Goodbye.
3, 2, 1, yeah!